We are live, Juice Heads. What the hell is going on? It's Juice Giorgio back at you with Raw pregame. So at first, the concept of these shows, and this may not change, was to come on like a half hour before, 45 minutes before, an hour before, whatever it might be. And it's your pregame show. Because no one else really does that I know of. Maybe the WWE does it themselves, but come on. They do it pretty poorly. And their watch-alongs are pretty bad, and their post shows are pretty bad. Let's just keep it real here. So, and YouTube, for those of you that are not YouTubers, which this is my 99th time doing this, so I'm not a YouTuber at all by any means, but I'm a guy that does it for now, and we'll see what comes of it. But what I will tell you is that if you do a live stream like I'm doing right now, it'll go live and anybody could find it. But then once it's done, YouTube has to process it, whatever the hell that means. And it could take hours. So when I did my WrestleMania pregame 2 days ago, I think I did it at like 4 o'clock. And then I think by 1 a.m. it was up. So I'm doing an experiment today at noon to see if this gets up in time for prior to Raw. And I don't know if it's quicker to just pre-record these, then upload them. So we'll see. It's a process like anything else. This is like my 5th wrestling show, I think. So, anywho, let's get to it. Fresh off WrestleMania weekend. So there's bad news and good news. And the saying is, if you have bad news and good news, you always want to start off with the bad news. But in this case, we're going to start off with the good news. And that is a federation called GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. I got to go see a show just under 2 years ago in Sayreville, New Jersey, which is about 40 minutes away from where I live. And it was awesome. It was the first time I saw Joey Janela. I think Pierre had a match from the fucking Quebecers who's doing some fucking gimmick. I forget what his name is, but tough guy. But it was awesome. I was introduced to Nick fucking Gage, which how do you not like that fucking guy? He's great, Nick fucking Gage. And it was just a fun show. Was it a little more hardcore than I like? Yeah, because it's like a lot of it's deathmatch wrestling, which is not really my cup of tea. But it was just refreshing to see a different product. Just like when I went to the indie shows in Broadway. Just refreshing to see a different product and people actually giving a shit about the fans and making sure the fans are being entertained. Because people always bring up the Attitude Era. I don't think you need Attitude Era stuff like tits and obscenities to have an entertaining product. Now, do a lot of these products do that? Yeah. But there's just different ways to do it. There's not one formula. But we'll get into that. Like, for example, I didn't even know there was a GCW thing on because I've been out of really the whole pro wrestling loop for a while. I'm getting back into it. And I'm starting from top down. So WWE, AEW, and so on and so forth. But for all you WWE and pro wrestling fans out there, if you're not watching GCW, give it a shot. It's goddamn awesome. And I just watched the pre-show a couple minutes ago. It was on YouTube for free. They had a pay-per-view on Saturday night on Fite TV. But the main takeaway is just that it was entertaining and they give a shit about the fans, which is the opposite of the WWE, by the way. And they have the balls to put the word entertainment in their name. But look, it was anything but family friendly, which is okay. It doesn't need to be family friendly. It could be, or it doesn't have to be. I'm cool either way. Because when the WWE wasn't so family friendly, I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I think that's old enough to watch whatever pro wrestling has to show you. It's not fucking hardcore porn. And it's not like a snuff film or anything bad like that. It's not at that level. It's just a little more obscene. It's nothing if you grew up in a regular household, nothing you wouldn't hear one of your parents say or whatever, or nothing you couldn't see on HBO at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, and again, I'm not saying you need that. I'm just saying it's just refreshing. The commentator was hilarious. It was just one guy. I don't even know what his name is, but I need to find out so I can give him credit. But whoever was the GCW commentator on Saturday, I apologize if you catch wind of this. I just didn't catch your name. But goddamn awesome. And he did it by himself, which I know it's not super easy to carry any kind of show by yourself is pretty difficult, or it's a different skill, right? Then towards the end, after the pre-show match ended, he goes, "Get mad or get in touch with reality," and I like that because I feel like the WWE, especially after this weekend, really needs to get in touch with reality because they might think their finger is on the pulse of like pop culture and all of entertainment and all of media. It's not. It's certainly not. Now, if they think because they run their company like a super progressive company, and if they think that has their hands on the pulse and they're in touch with reality, then God bless them if that's really what they think, because that's the direction they've been moving in the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, even in the Super Cena era, which is probably about 2000 and we'll call it 2005 till 2011, that's pretty much when this whole thing started. And then that's when these decided, hey, we're not going to just build one star anymore. We're going to offer this whole array of stuff. And we're not just going to go after wrestling fans on a wrestling product. We're going to go after everybody on every product that would be a fan of everything. So I don't think that's working out too well, and they keep doubling down. Then he mentioned Rich Swann and Leo Rush were on the card, so I feel like Leo Rush has to be humbled because he said some pretty ignorant shit like a year ago. So for him to be doing GCW shows, making a fraction of what he was making, we'll say, per appearance for the WWE, I feel like if this guy ever makes it back up to the WWE or AEW, because let's be honest, even though those aren't the two best organizations, like the indies are way better. That's where you want to wind up. You got to make a living. So I feel like he'll be much better if and when he ever gets back up there. Joey Janela was on the card, who obviously I actually saw him for the first time at the GCW show a couple years ago. So I'm glad to see him. That's another guy, and he happens to be from my state, and I'm sure we've been to the same places. We may know some of the same people. Who knows? But just really glad to see someone that I saw first on an indie show on national TV, whether it's AEW or whatever it's on. I'm glad to see that. And of course, Nick fucking Gage main evented. So I might actually rent it on Fite TV. I don't know how that works. I don't know if you have to subscribe or whatever. But I think Fite TV might be a better. If you're a pro wrestling fan, I think you might want Fite TV more than you want Peacock. That's my instinct. That's what my gut's telling me. I think you might be better off with Fite TV, and especially Peacock. I got the special $2.50 a month for 4 months. Then it goes to like $5 or something. But I will tell you, they take their liberties with commercials, and that's even on the live fucking show. But even I was trying to watch Broken Skull Sessions. It's like every 7 minutes, there's at least a minimum of a 30-second commercial break. Every like 7 minutes. Because these are like 2-hour shows. So it gets really annoying. I'd rather have like lesser commercial breaks for more time. Because I keep talking about getting taken out of the moment. These are podcasts, so like it's more for your ears than your eyes, but it's like you're getting hooked into the conversation, and then these commercial breaks just take you right out of it. It's not good. It's not good. So while we're on the momentum of not good, let's talk WrestleMania weekend. And I have notes for Saturday and Sunday separate, but we'll start with Saturday first. Is it just me, or did Vince not look or sound good at all? Neither did Hogan, by the way. Hogan, and I'm not making this up. Someone else has said this before me. I think Kevin Castle. But Hulk Hogan really looks like the huckster now, which is unfortunate. But he looked better, I think, last night when his body was more covered up, and because like I don't want to see Hulk Hogan with like these. His arms did not look like Hulk Hogan's arms, and the guy's got to be 70 or flirting with 70 or close to it, or maybe even over 70. So yeah, I get it. It's just age, He's just wearing down. But cover it up, dude. because we don't want to. Us Hulkamaniacs that grew up with you don't want to see it like that. It's sad, and it makes me think that he's sick, and I don't think he's sick, but it looks like it. Then the other thing too, I'm never a fan of when they bring out the whole roster on the stage. I think it's stupid because half of the locker room is supposed to be feuding with the other half of the locker room. And I don't even think they split them up in any sort of strategic way. It's just, hey, this is the front row, this is the second row. Because I guess they had some more high-profile guys out in the front or whatever. Or who knows? It could have been random. But like Vince mandated that. And he's like, I need the whole roster there night one because I want everybody out on the stage. And I just hate when they do that. I know kayfabe is dead, but do we have to keep... It's like I'm not even going to say they bring it back to life because that would mean the attempt to kayfabe anything because they don't. But can you at least try to make me believe that these are people that don't like each other and want to fight over an issue that they have with one another? I just hate when they do that. And the other thing I'll say is how many of those guys on the stage wanted to kneel for America the Beautiful, even though that's not the anthem. But Vince always likes America the Beautiful for Wrestlemania. It's a nice song. I may even like it better myself than the anthem. Because Vince is Mr. America. But I found it funny that clearly nobody was allowed to take a knee. No matter where you stand politically, that's the only thing in which is not progressive about the way that company is being run. Because say whatever you will about the McMahons taking a family portrait in the Oval Office when Trump got into office 5 years ago or 4 years ago. They certainly don't run their company like that. Like maybe they're conservative as fuck in their personal lives and the Republicans or whatever, because Linda ran as a Republican for Senate. But that company is not ran like that at all. So I don't want to... Anytime I ever hear about the McMahons being in bed with Trump, maybe in their personal lives somehow they were, but definitely not their product. And let's be honest, we care more about their product more than we care about their personal lives. At least I do, because I'm a wrestling fan, and I want the product to be good. So, then the opening video, very goofy, nothing about it was funny. They probably had all fucking 80 writers, however many writers they have working on it. It just came across really stupid and goofy. And then they have the balls to use it for both nights. How lazy is that? They could have at least spliced in the WrestleMania Saturday people into the first video and then spliced in the WrestleMania Sunday people into the second video or the second night of the same video if you're going to have the same video. Because first of all, it was painful to sit through the first time. Then I realized last night I put on WrestleMania at 10 of 8 because I don't like the pre-shows, never really cared for them. My pre-show is obviously awesome. But that's neither here nor there. But, my God, I didn't have to turn on WrestleMania till 8:20. So we're going to talk about that too. The bell-to-bell time was actually average. The bell-to-bell time was actually average. That's one of the first things I looked at after night one because there was so much fluff in between. But we're going to get to that. And I'm going to tell you why they don't care about their fans, okay? Or a lot of the fans just have Stockholm Syndrome and they're just on board no matter what. But to me, a lot of this was lazy and formulaic and repetitive. And this is not a knock on the talent or the in-ring matches. The matches were all great. You could probably say that both nights overall, maybe the two women's tag matches, and I've said my spiel about the women's tag division, but you could say the women's tag matches each night were the weakest matches on the card. But I thought pretty much all the matches were very good. And again, you wouldn't be there. Even a Jey Uso from last night wouldn't be that involved in the main event if they didn't deserve to be there in some way, shape, or form. So I'm not doubting any of the talent. And as a matter of fact, the weather delay on night one was a good thing because it forced a lot of these guys to do unscripted promos, which is the way a promo should be. This guy says it all the time. You come out, you have your bullet points you're going to go over, and then you go off the cuff, but you cover the bullet points. That's how you do a promo. Not this scripted fucking horse shit where you memorize paragraphs of this really bad writing. I mean, it's not even like the writing's good. I don't know why they have all these writers. I have no experience writing anything except bullet points on a very low profile show. But that's all you need for pro wrestling is bullet points. Anything more than that, you're really just wasting your time, and you obviously don't care about what the fans want to watch. But who really stood out to me, KO was good at that, so that didn't really stand out to me because I expected KO's shtick to be good, and it was from the heart, and he didn't even, it was totally off the top of his head, but he knew the concept of the feud, he knew the concept of the match, he knows the opponent very well, so that's like when a kid grows up speaking Spanish and English, but takes Spanish class in high school. It's like an easy A. MVP, to me, did a really good job for having to prepare to go on the opening match to now you're on this delay, and now you got to be a mouthpiece for Lashley backstage. I thought he did a really, really good job, especially under those conditions. Because he sort of came into the company originally when they were going in the direction of more and more writers and more micromanaging of what the on-screen talent can and can't do. So he's very good at doing a promo the old school way, which is funny. The expected all these people, and by the way, for those people that didn't do as good a job, why would they? They get no practice. Everything they do and say is so scripted that it was just, some of it was funny. And obviously you knew Shane was going to do okay with it. But even Shane's not used to it because it's just been so long since Shane just got to go out there. And it's not like you're going out there and winging it, but you're going out there and it's just it was a lot less scripted. Cover the bullet points and speak freely. And that's not something they do anymore. And it's really something they should go back to. All right. So that was a good thing. I'll take a bad unscripted promo over a great scripted promo, which there is no such thing anyway, anytime. So bravo to the Weather for forcing them to do some actual pro wrestling stuff. Now, here's my biggest gripe with the whole picture. I like to look at wrestling from the macro level. That's why you come here. You go to Don Tony, you go to Solo Monster, you go to Soup for micro stuff. And Hannibal's a macro guy as well, I noticed. But he'll call out, but he can get micro. I'm not that kind of guy. I like to look at it on the macro level. I counted over the 2 nights 10 commercial breaks. I counted a commercial break as a minimum of 2 commercials. So there were 14 matches between both nights. So 7 matches each night, which means you had 12 gaps to fill between matches. That means 10 out of the 12 gaps between matches, they made us sit through 2 or more commercials. And a lot of the commercials were WWE related or had superstars in them. And some of them were about just straight up Peacock and straight up movies that the movie that they were plugging, I saw in the movies like 2 weeks ago. It's not a new movie. What are they doing? But no reason for them to do that. If they cared about their fans, they wouldn't be in a place right now where they're obligated to do that. And by the way, Snickers has been sponsoring WrestleMania for as long as I can remember. But I never heard fucking the word Snickers so many times. And then the couple of times where there weren't commercials, this match is sponsored by Snickers. Snickers, Snickers, Snickers. You mentioned Snickers? Hey, Snickers, Snickers. Just stop. If you're at the point where your product is that compromised, where you're inserting that many commercials into your product, why is it even on some sort of platform that you have to pay for? Just put it on basic fucking TV, like the Super Bowl at that point. Put it on Fox. Make Fox and NBC and ABC and CBS bid for it. Don't even give them a rotating thing like the NFL. Make them bid for it every year, just like the way you make cities bid to host it. Why even have it? If it wasn't on a pay service, I wouldn't care, by the way. And I don't ever care about the bell-to-bell time on Raw, SmackDown, whatever. I don't care about bell-to-bell time on televised events. I only care about bell-to-bell time on pay-per-view events. Because pay-per-view events are supposed to be wrestling shows. I get it. Raw and SmackDown are essentially the commercials for these pay-per-view events, right? That's the model. That's been the model since they went to pay-per-view. And before that, that was the model to sell tickets for house shows. Or I guess it was both, really. But especially the pay-per-views. So, I'm just perusing my notes here. And I pretty much hit everything I wanted to hit. But this is what happens when you sell your... They basically essentially sold their own soul to Peacock. Because now when they do a Raw, they know that Raw, not only they have to answer to their shareholders and to NBC Universal and the live sponsors, now they have to answer to Peacock. Oh, is Peacock going to accept this thing we want to do? Let's change it. That way we know it fits the Peacock standards. That way when it gets archived a month from now, we know Peacock won't have any issues with it. So this is really bad. And just sometimes to give you that glimmer of hope that maybe they're going to turn it around and kind of go back in the right direction, they just double the fuck down in this obscure direction they've been going in since the I call it the Super Cena era. You call it whatever you want. But whatever it is, you call it the PG era. PG doesn't bother me. Bad product bothers me. You could have great PG product if you do it right. Their product was PG in the 80s, pretty much. Maybe there were a couple of overtones or undertones that went above PG on occasion, but it really was PG when I was a little kid. Then maybe they had the cartoon era, which is a little ridiculous, but even the cartoon era, I'll prefer over now because it was just presented much better. Was the in-ring talent better? No. I think the in-ring talent is as good or better than it's ever been. And I don't hold them accountable for any of this. I don't blame them for wanting to work and wanting to work on the highest platform you could be on. Are you kidding me? But it's just the more they do stuff like whore out their library of content to the highest bidder for a one-time deal, you can't get that. Once you sold it, that's it. It's gone. You're never going to get it back. At least up until a few months ago or whenever they made the deal, at least up until the point where they made the deal, at least they owned all their stuff. Now they really don't even own their own company anymore. I mean, you can make that argument when they went public, they really didn't own their own company anymore. But now they don't even own their own content. It's sad. I'm actually sad about that. You know what else made me sad? When I found out on night one that Michael Cole was going to be doing commentary for all the matches for both brands. Why will they not let mouthfuck Tom Phillips just announce the Raw WrestleMania matches? Why do we need Cole doing both? It's bad enough we got to hear him for the SmackDown matches, and bad enough he's been on commentary for the last 22 years. Why do we need him to do the whole fucking show? No pun intended. So, again, you don't come here for results. You already know the results. You've already seen the shows breaking it down, but I'm going to point things out that maybe you didn't notice or just talk about things that maybe you didn't think about. So, I was actually saying, and I think a lot of people thought this, they were going to give Drew his moment back. Well, I was wrong about that. But you could actually apply that theory to my man Cesaro, who, great match, tore it down with Seth Rollins. Not my favorite match of the night, just because I didn't find it to be the most entertaining. It was up there. I knew they were going to tear it down. I said that, and they did. My favorite match of the night is probably no one else's favorite match of the night, but I'll get to that. Let's see. What else? Oh, when Dolph was doing his interview with Robert Roode, again, they probably went to some of the people that they thought would do best with it, and Ziggler and Roode can talk, scripted or not scripted. But I think he made a slight at Nicki Bella. He said something to the effect of, "All right, we got to go. The 2020 Hall of Famers want a shot with Dolph," or he said something like that. But I took that as a slight at Nicki. And then she got slighted last night. Obviously, it was a work shoot, but it was still pretty funny. Bayley did a great job. She transformed herself into like a 40-year-old looking, like soccer mom looking weirdo. But there's something about it I like. I'm sick like that. There's something about it I like. So good for Bayley though. She earned her WrestleMania paycheck for sure. So good for her. Good for Bayley. And she made fun of Cole a lot, which I'm cool with that. And I hope that was a shoot, because she was absolutely correct if it was. So what else? My favorite match of the night was the Raw tag title match. I thought it was an outstanding match. I thought they told the story that they wanted to tell. I thought the New Day was actually going to win the match. I didn't think they were going to switch the belts. And I found out they were pronouncing it Omos. So I'll do my best to remember that it's pronounced Omos. But there were a couple times in that match when they had me actually cracking up. That's why I was so entertained by it. Especially and it was the way they shot it. So this is the one compliment I'll give them on their camera work. Out of nowhere, you just see AJ Styles. I thought he came off the top rope. He actually came off the shoulders of Omos. And I cracked up because that was just too fucking funny. And then when Omos was done with Kofi and Kofi just looked like he was dead, I was like legitimately laughing my fucking ass off. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Oh, and speaking of the Bellas, right? They were always like the Hall of Fame valets for like the older people. Like if they had to push a wheelchair or help an older like geriatric person walk out to the stage. And to me, they still look like Hall of Fame valets rather than Hall of Famers. Again, don't hate the player, hate the game. They're nice pieces of ass. They used that to get themselves into the business. They obviously didn't want to be in the business when they walked away from it and tried to make it in the mainstream. Then they came back. They had a second run where they made it seem like they cared about the business on that run. They did their reality show stuff, which I'm not a reality show guy. But it put eyeballs on the WWE. So that is what it made them money. It probably made the WWE some money. And Vince loves attention from anywhere that is willing to give it to them. So I'm sure he loved having those E cameras back there, whatever company it was that went to E with the show. Even Miz and Mrs., who I like, I'm sure Vince is enthralled with that, because that's his deal. Vince wants to be mainstream so bad. And speaking of the Miz, that was my second favorite match of the night, because I knew Bad Bunny was going to be good, because this guy is a fan, and you knew he was going to prepare for this, and he did, and he brought it. But if you just looked at Miz's facials through the match and his ring psychology, I thought it was great. And especially Miz and Morrison both, just the way, because it took Miz a while to tag in Morrison for the first time. So like even the stuff that Morrison would yell to Miz was just, again, it had me cracking up, and I was actually entertained. So awesome match, really good stuff. Awesome. I don't have to say what Bad Bunny did. We know what he did. We saw it. So if anything, I hope to see him again. I hope to see him do another program. Instead of having Shane McMahon as the token once a year WrestleMania show up guy, I'm okay if they want to do Bad Bunny. moving forward. The guy, here's the deal, the guy clearly cares. And it shows in his preparation and his work and his performance. So let's do Bad Bunny every WrestleMania. Shane, I love you. You put on a hell of a match too, but you're just too old and I'm really concerned about your health. Don't want to see anything. I want to see you be able to play with your kids. They're getting older. I want you to walk. I'm sure they're going to play sports. I want you to be able to go to their sports games and stand on your own 2 feet and watch them from the sidelines. It's enough's enough, Shane. And again, great job. But you don't have to be taking bumps like this anymore. I just wish you wouldn't. Do me a favor, Shane. It's because I care. Right? Isn't that why Randy Orton took out Edge last year? Because he cares about the family too. Shane, I care about you and your family. I just wish you would please stop taking bumps like that. All right. So, now let's talk about the big controversial topic. And I might be the only person that has its opinion, but fuck it, I'm going to say it anyway. Bianca and Sasha. Did I care that it was the main event? No. Do I think they're both deserving of main event status? Yes. If the first match wasn't going to be the last match, do I think this is the second most match that makes sense to go on last? Yes. Here's my 2 issues. I don't care that they're 2 women. I don't care that they're both black. There was a black man that main evented the first WrestleMania. No one cared that he was black. I just see 2 wrestlers that deserve to be there, regardless of their race or gender. That's number 1. Number 2, I didn't know the SmackDown's Women's Championship was worthy of main eventing a WrestleMania. Because SmackDown's always been the redheaded little sister brand. And the women's division is, hierarchy-wise, I think would be... I know they're trying to make it equal where they're both here. Women's division is here, in reality. At least to me. Maybe they're both at the same plateau now, and I'm just too ignorant to realize it, or whatever. And I have no problem with that main eventing. They tore it down. It was a great match. I knew they would put on a great match. I think I said they would put on a great match. I just wasn't terribly interested. But I just didn't know the SmackDown women's belt was worthy of a WrestleMania main event. I think these 2 could have main evented without the belt even being in the picture. So I'm probably the first, last, and only person that'll ever say that. But it was a hell of a match. And I give Sasha a lot of credit for taking that welt. I never saw anything like that. And Bianca, I wonder how often she washes her hair. How does she wash her hair? Does that work? Would that mess it up? I don't know. Man, these are questions I'm really interested about. But no, it was a great match. Oh, I have no problem with any of the matches. The matches in themselves are great. My problem is with the overall production, the micromanagement, the commercials, the nonstop Snickers, 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 Snickers. This match is brought to you by Snickers. That's my problem. I thought the matches were all outstanding. And speaking of outstanding, in between WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2, we had a Broken Skull Sessions with Y2J. Nothing really stuck out to me because they didn't really cover too much stuff I didn't know already. If you listen to Austin's podcast, and if you listen to Jericho's podcast especially, and you follow their careers, maybe you got some insight into some stories you never heard before, but go check it out. It was awesome. But for the most part, we already heard all that stuff already. Maybe never them talking about it. And the bigger thing about that is probably that you had an AEW guy doing a WWE show. Oh, shout out to Hunter Tracy, who's not, I guess, was here or not here. But hey, shout out to you anyway, if you catch the replay. Said he hopes there's some debuts and returns tonight. And Raw after WrestleMania, yeah. We all hope that. That's what makes it fun, right? So, WrestleMania Sunday, I don't have as many notes. Oh, one thing I did want to point out. The way that the announced that your boy Titus O'Neil, Tampa's very own, and they even said for Biggie, Tampa's very own. I thought Hogan was from Tampa also, so I don't know. Is Hogan not allowed to admit he's from Tampa? I just thought that was a little silly. And again, I'm here to just talk about random rogue things like that I noticed. We already know the results. You probably already watched someone talk about the results. I thought all the in-ring stuff was great. I'm talking more about the presentation and some of the things I found a little more quirky about the event. All right. Like, for example, Orton goes to the ring and then they play the video package after 15 to 20 minutes of the same video from the first night and all these introductions and all these commercials. If you're going to play the hype video again for Orton and Fiend, why don't you play it before Orton comes out? Now, they sort of did connect the hype video to the Fiend's entrance to play devil's advocate. So, okay, if that was on purpose, then I get it. But then here's the deal, too. Between the entrance for the Fiend, the entrance for Orton, the hype video, that felt like it was about 12 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. The bell-to-bell time for the actual match of like a 5-month feud was 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And is that really a way to pay this match off? And honestly, I thought that match was going to get slotted closer towards the main event because it was a higher profile match. And because don't you want maximum darkness in the sky for when Bray Wyatt comes out? And it was already dark, but I think it could have gotten even darker. So I just found that odd that was the first match of the night. And if they really wanted to do the opposite of the first night, they could have had the women's match open up night number 2, just like you had the men's championship match open up night number 1. Again, I have no problem with the woman going semi-main event because that's not really a great slot anyway. And they did a great job with that. Was a very good match. I thought what's her name had a great entrance. Anywho, Rhea Ripley. But we'll get to that. Oh, then the other thing I noticed that was a little quirky. We got to the women's tag team match. Since when, and I think this happened in all 3 tag team matches, or 3 out of 4 tag matches, if there were 4. Yeah, there were 4 tag matches. But you had all these partners of tag teams on the other end of the ring making demands to the opponent team that you tag in the opponent. I never saw that. And they did that in basically every match. I never saw that before. If in storyline, if I'm on that other team, I would be like, bitch, who the fuck are you to make demands? We're here to kick your ass, and we're going to kick your ass the way we want to. You're not going to tell me I got to tag in my partner first. I'm in here first because I want to be in here first to either kick your ass or his ass or your ass and her ass, whatever the match might be. So I thought that was goofy that they did it even once. Actually, I didn't think it was goofy. I thought it was goofy they did it in essentially every tag match. It's really weird. And I heard from listening to podcasts from people in the business, you're not supposed to use the same gimmick in a match more than once on the same card. It doesn't make any sense. If you see it once, you're not really supposed to see it again. But I thought that was a little funny. And the other thing I was glad about, I knew KO and Sami Zayn were going to tear it down. And again, the point of the show, we know who won. We knew it was a great match. The thing that surprised me about that match was he used the stunner. And that got the 1, 2, 3 for the pinfall, because the stunner should be a finishing move. If you're going to use it and pay homage to my opinion, my GOAT is this guy, Stone Cold. The stunner should be a finishing move. So if you're going to let him hit the stunner, then yeah, get the 1, 2, 3. And Hunter, I actually gave you a shout out. I see that you're throwing some chats in there. Yeah, who do you think is going to debut or return tonight? Because that's one of the things you always look forward to most the Raw after WrestleMania, right? Is the debuts and returns. So it's always a fun show. So I'm actually, even though I'm not too high on the Raw product right now or the WWE overall, Raw is always fun the night after WrestleMania, no doubt about it. And even WrestleMania is fun. My problem is there's always quirky things especially with the WWE. And that's what I like to point out. So that's why I'm doing this show. I just started doing it. I have fun doing it. I've been a fan for 30 years, so I know a thing or two about how it works and what it used to look like compared to what it looks like now. And I'm trying to point out things that you're not going to hear at other podcasts. So that's why I do these pregame shows, just trying to be a little bit different and do my own thing. The other thing about the Sami Zayn thing, when he got up and he was talking shit to Logan Paul, we know Logan Paul is a shoot boxer. He had a good fight where he kicked the shit out of that guy on the Tyson pay-per-view. So it would have been nice to see, especially with KO winning by the stunner, you could have went WrestleMania 14 and you could have had Logan Paul deck Sami Zayn. That would have been awesome to see. Instead, you got the little shove because we know Logan Paul can really throw a right hand. And then KO still could have stunned him because that's something Austin would have done too. So just my feedback on it. So yeah, we heard a lot about Becky. She's been teasing coming back. She teased something about night 1 and night 2 last night. I think she's going to go to SmackDown, right? And maybe start something with Bianca. That's what I've been hearing. And Adam Cole, I'd like to see him come up, and it'd be a great thing. I just hope if he does come up, he doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Because a lot of people over the years, since NXT's been a thing now for about 7 years, you see a lot of people get called up that deserve to get called up, and then they have a not so stellar time on the main roster. So hopefully if he does get called up, they make the most out of it and they do a good job with it. Because the last thing I want to see is someone like Adam Cole go from up here on NXT to just getting lost in the shuffle on the main roster. Because we've seen that happen over the years with people, and he's too goddamn talented, in my opinion, to want to see that happen. So hopefully we do see Adam Cole, and hopefully they use him well. That's I really don't have too much more that really stuck out to me. I did like in the background the Matt Riddle and RVD thing, right? Because you have the stoner gimmick, and then you have the actual stoner man hand him rolling papers, which I was surprised to even see that on WWE TV, quite frankly. So that was pretty cool to see. And again, I just found something weird at the end of the night. By the way, I thought all the matches were fine. I'm not a recap show. We already know what happened, and you probably already heard a recap show anyway. But I thought all the matches were great, and you can make an argument maybe the women's tag matches on both nights were the lowlights of the tag matches. But did you notice how before we got to the main event, they essentially replayed the Orton and Fiend stuff? I was wondering why they did that, and my only theory is because the match only went bell to bell for just under 6 minutes. So I don't know if they were just trying to get them more screen time, essentially. It was just a weird match with a weird ending. I think that if you're going to have those guys feud for that long and have them blow off that feud at WrestleMania, and especially the fact that they put it on night 2, which you feel like night 2 has to be a little somewhat more important because that's the payoff night. I really thought they were going to go on later in the card and have at least maybe a 15 to 20 minute match. In my opinion, that match was like the real Raw main event over the title match with Drew and Lashley. So just because I thought they put a lot more into that feud, and that feud was going on for a lot longer. And I think Orton plus Fiend are more high profile guys than Drew and Lashley. So to me, the real Raw main event was Fiend and Orton. So the way they booked that match, I thought was really silly. So yeah, exactly. Watch Vince put Adam Cole on main event. Exactly. Well, Hunter, thanks for watching live. I don't really plug this yet. This is my maybe 5th wrestling show. So if you like it, I'd be honored if you liked or subscribed to the channel or like the video. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing I'm afraid about what they're going to do with Adam Cole is you call him up and maybe they put some steam behind him for a couple of months or however long they might give him a nice little run for. And then all of a sudden he's on main event, and it's like, why the fuck did they even call him up? He was better off on NXT. And we've seen that happen. Look at Ember Moon. And I'm glad to see her back on NXT actually doing something meaningful. So what else do you have to say, Hunter? My boy Roman won, but I thought Ed should have won the title. Yeah, I agree. But they ended it the way they wanted to have it end. I thought it was a really entertaining match. I thought either Edge or Roman would win. I didn't think Bryan was going to walk out. But at one point, they had me thinking anybody could win the match. So that's good. In my opinion, that's all you want out of a match when you're watching it live. I didn't like how the match ended, but they had to get there somehow. And I like the heel Roman. I like that Jay had to play a role in it. So they're doing a good thing having the heel champ go over dirty, right? He didn't win with like a clean pinfall in the ring, but it was a no DQ match anyway. So by those standards, he really didn't even do anything wrong. But it's good to see the heel win in a heel fashion. I like that. And I was never a big Roman fan, but I love this whole run he's on with Roman right now, with the whole heel thing. What would have been nice, and this might be a little bit of a nitpick, I would have liked to have seen an awesome promo cut by Paul Heyman before the match, and maybe you let Roman say a couple of sentences. But I would have really liked to have seen that before the match. I feel like there were no backstage promos this whole WrestleMania. Instead of that, we got commercials, right? I feel like that's their new model, is that they're going to replace legitimate, genuine backstage promos with commercials and hype videos. And they've always done hype packages. That's fine, but let the guys cut a promo too before their match. And yeah, the rain delay was overwhelming. But I was talking about this before you jumped on the show. The one thing I did like about that rain delay was that it forced a lot of the people in the back to do unscripted promos, which is something, quite frankly, we never see anymore. And they'll let some of the higher tier guys like an Edge or like a Daniel Bryan do a little more off the cuff promos where they're a little less scripted, but they're still, I think, scripted. But when there was that rain delay, that was 100% unscripted. So it forced them to actually have to think off their toes and cut a promo from the heart, which it's certainly lacking. You like the tribal chief gimmick. Are you talking about Apollo Crews' guy? Or you mean just the fact that Roman is the tribal chief in like the Samoan culture kind of thing? At this point, I'm pretty much finished talking about everything I had to talk about. So Hunter, thanks for joining me live. The reason I do it live, I'm doing it live now. YouTube has to process the video after I'm done going live, so that process takes time for it to process. So I'm trying to end this at a time that hopefully it goes on before Raw, because it's Raw pregame, and usually I go on at like 7:30 or so, a half hour before the show. But today I'm trying live earlier and hoping that YouTube post this for the whole masses to see prior to Raw coming on. So Hunter, thanks again for joining me, man. I think he just dropped off. Hey, I told him smash that like and subscribe. That was cool having someone to interact with. Hopefully first of many. So shout out to you, Hunter Tracy, for keeping me company on Raw pregame. So that's all I got, Juiceheads. I will check you guys out later tonight with an Uncommon Sense. And peace. There. Got to see it. There it is.